Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the Self in all beings. By the immense grace of the Self manifest as Ramana, we are today celebrating the Pournami, and we begin with the prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of the composition of Bhagavan, the Muktaka trayam by Sri N.Nandakumar.
Dakshinamurti Sarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ramanacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya Vachikam Sarva Vangmayam Aharyam Chandrataradi Tam Namasatvikam Shivam Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana to everyone.
Ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam likhyate tatam. Kevalam brahmamatram yaham aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hrudi vishamanasasvam Chimvata Majjata Anachalanarodha Atmanishto Bhakti. Deham Mranmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Buddhirnatasyasketo Naham Tattata Bhava Shukti Samaye Siddhatma Sadbhavaha Oham Bhavayuta Kuto Varadhiya Drishtatmanishtatmana Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha Om Vibhati Swayam Muktaka Arunachala Shiva Purnami Vibhati Swayam.
Namo Ramana. By Bhagavan's grace, we continue the celebration. Today, we have as a special speaker for the occasion, Sri G. Kameshwar. Sri G. Kameshwar is not new to the Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, and nonetheless, I would like to remember on this occasion the association of G. Kameshwar's family as well with Bhagavan, right from his paternal grandfather, and who was the scoutmaster, Vaidyanatha Iyer, and we can see him in the film, in the archival film of Bhagavan, and he used to literally carry the vegetables and often things himself personally, sometimes on his head, and carrying them in the bags, and he used to come and give them to the ashram. And he would on special occasion bring the scouts to help serve. In those days also we can see in the film hundreds of people having the annadana, and we can see him there, the joyous presence. That was his grandfather. Then his father, G. Gauri Shankar, was closely associated with the Delhi Ramana Kendra and their journal, The Direct Path. And he started, Gauri Shankar Ji started, along with Kameshwar, the book, the Adhyatma Ramayana, which later Kameshwar has gone on to complete, and Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning has had the privilege of publishing it. That is Atma Vidya in Adhyatma Ramayana. Selections pertaining to Atma Vidya with the translations. G. Kameshwar himself is the associate editor of our journal, our monthly journal, the Ramana Way, and he has brought out several publications he has contributed several publications for our center. The first one was Self-Abidance, a translation of Swami Swarupananda Saraswati's Hindi commentary on Saddarshanam, based on the Muni's commentary. Then the Upadesha Saram, which was based on the Muni's commentary, again the translation of Swarupananda Ji. And recently, the Tattva Bodhini, which is Jagadeshwara Shastri's commentary on Upadesha Saram, translated from Sanskrit into English. There was also another contribution by G. Kameshwar, which was the writings of Crazy Mohan, which he compiled and edited, Crazy About Ramana. And there is a continuous contribution of his in terms of the advice and guidance which he gives to our center, as well as his articles in the Ramana Way, which are very distinctive. There was a series on Mother Alagamma, which is still an ongoing series. And then there are translations of Bhagavan's Arunachala Sthiti Panchakam, which is also an ongoing series in our journal. I welcome Sri G. Kameshwar to address us today on Bhagavan Ramana's life and teachings.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. 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 You can hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Dakshinamurti Sarambham Shankaracharya Madhyama Ramanacharya Paryanta Vande Guru Parampara. Om Chandrikasita Hasashri Manditanana Mandalaya Namah. On this sacred Pournami day, which today is right in the middle of the period that is referred to in our tradition as Chaturmasya. Chaturmasya is a period observed by all different faiths. There are Hindus, Muslims, there are Hindus, the Jains, the Buddhists, the monks. A period of intense spirituality. It is a period where rains come. It is a joyous period. It is a period where one and all welcome this arrival of rain. Even babies, children, they love it when they see the rains come. And it brings out the child in each one of us as well. We all go to the veranda, etc., and see the rains, and we send video pictures to each other. It's raining here, and we are right in the thick of it. I think yesterday or day before, it was rained very heavily in Chennai. It was raining in Delhi very heavily. It was raining in Bombay. It was raining everywhere. It's a period of rains. So the Chaturmasya is a period where, because of this, generally speaking, all external activity comes to either slows down or stops. Primarily because nature doesn't want you to do it. It is inconvenient for you to go outside and do it. And of course, the insects and the worms, etc., which are outside, they are harmed if you go around outside during this season. So generally, in our tradition, about 4 months are given to us. Reduced to 2 months nowadays. They observe Chaturmasya for 2 months. That is good. Earlier time was something that was appreciated even better. So they took 4 months. And this period, we are supposed to be off. Meaning to say, 8 months of the year you work very hard, earn money, do all that. 4 months of the year you do nothing. Do nothing means what? It's not a holiday. It's not as if you are hibernating. It is a period of inward absorption. It's a spiritual period that is allotted to us. It is a season for self-absorption. We can see that nature itself is intent on what during this season? Nature is intent on absorbing the downpour from the heavens. For man, the downpour is, what is this downpour during this period? For man, it is the downpour of Guru's grace. It is a season for us to be very tuned to this downpour of Guru's grace and absorb it. For any sadhana to succeed, the necessity condition is Guru's Sannidhi, Guru's Sannidhyam, Guru's grace. This season gives us that. That is why this season of Chaturmasya starts. It started the previous full moon. It started on Guru Pournima. So we started on Guru Pournima. Today is the next Pournami. And today is what? Today is Upakarma Day, Avani Avittam Day. It is a day of Vedarambam, the commencement of the study of the Veda, the downpour of knowledge. And if we consider it as 2 months as Chaturmasya period, we are bang in the middle of that period, Vedarambam period. So, in this beautiful setup given by nature to us to observe, to spend, to spend the time with the self, to reduce the external transactions, and to tune in to the downpour of Guru's rays that is happening, and to absorb it. This season is special. Now, full moon night. Full moon and Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi seem synonymous. If you look at the full moon, it looks like Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. It's so beautiful. And look at Bhagavan, his face is like the full moon. His eyes is like the full moon. Chandrika Sita Hasa Shri, smile. Chandrika Sita Hasa Shri, Manditarana Mandalaya Namah. Now, today, let us pray to that grace of Bhagavan Sri Ramana. Grace alone is the one supreme attribute of God. God having infinite auspicious attributes, of them the greatest is grace. Say the masters, it is not our thinking, the masters say that. Karune. So today I thought we will touch a little bit upon the life of Bhagavan in a different way. It is in the context of another sannyasi, sage, who was a great devotee of Bhagavan, whom most of you who are in this satsang would have met, you have definitely seen, you would have met, and many of you would have spoken to him. Swami Shantanandapuri, who used to be in Sri Ramanashram for long periods of time. So from his watchtower of grace, where he was the recipient of the downpour of grace of Bhagavan Sri Ramana, let us try to catch some glimpse. We won't go into detail, but to get the context, let us look at it in brief. That Shantanandapuri Ji Maharaj, he seriously came to Sri Ramanashram only in 1995. We have been there before. Much before, many of us. Of course, he had come before. He had come, his first visit was in 1952, short visit. when he was younger. Then later in 89, he said it was like a picnic along with his family. Then 1993 or so, he came as a monk. By the time he became a monk. He came as a monk, but he was in some other ashram, staying in some other place in Pournami. He spent a couple of months in Pournami. Every day he was coming to Ramashram for his sadhana and returning. Then in 1995, an interesting thing happened. He was doing intense sadhana. So for that, one of the different sadhanas, one of the sadhanas he was doing was he was in Gujarat in a certain ashram where the head of that ashram had a special place called Maun Mandir. The speciality of the place is that it was a dark room. So you have to opt for it, and 6 months you have to stay in that room. The room is so designed, there's an attached bath inside, also dark. The room is so designed that not even a ray of sunlight will come inside, not even a ray. Completely no light. So you go inside, I mean, they lock you up. You don't have key, you can't come out. You have opted for it, you go for a sadhana inside. They will provide you whatever, once or twice a day. Maybe some food will be put somewhere where you can pick it up. Whatever they give, you have to eat. You can't discuss the menu with them. And then do your sadhana. There's nothing else you can do. No cell phone, nothing. I mean, you are there. 6 months. 6 months of darkness. I'm not sure whether they are allowed to clock or watch, or maybe they were, I'm not sure. But day and night, you don't know the difference. You are stuck there for 6 months. You can't read a book. You can't do anything. You are there in darkness. It's like, as far as I can think about it, it's as close to what we understand as death. Except you are alive to death. You are stuck. So he was there. He was there inside that, doing whatever sadhana he was doing. You won't know when you're getting up, whether it's morning, evening, night, nothing, you're there. And this is not an uncommon sadhana, meaning to say it's not common either. I mean, it is not one-off. I mean, this kind of sadhana has been, some gurus have asked their disciples to do that. This is extreme in the sense that it is constructed for that purpose. Maun Mandir, absolute silence, nobody can, you can only shout it yourself, maybe sing, but nothing. It's like nobody can hear you. You're inside. He was there. So he says it was in 1995. He was there since maybe February or March in that Maun Mandir. And about 4.5 months after he started, around July, August time, he heard a voice, a divine voice, telling him, you should go to Sri Ramanashram and do sadhana there for 1 year. You could see it was a divine voice, goddess voice, Amba's voice. Divine voice of goddess. Amba, Gujarat name. So he says that he talked to that voice, but they won't allow in Ramanashram. I don't think they allow, because once he had been there 2 years, 3 years back, he had been staying somewhere else and coming, whatever. He said, 1 year and all, who will allow? So that voice told him, you go, everything will work out, kind of thing. Then I don't know, he says that he must have finished the 6 months or whatever. He wrote a letter, he says, to Sri Ramanashram, saying all this. I got a divine command from Goddess that I should spend 12 months in Ramanashram doing sadhana. I humbly request you to give me accommodation and prasadam. However, I understand it will be very difficult. So, request at least 6 weeks. I mean, at least 6 weeks of accommodation. With which I'll try to find out if there's some other mutt which will give me some place to stay and some prasadam, etc. But I have to do sadhana there for 1 year, so I am a monk. I am 69 years old. You are 69. We have hope. You are 69 years old. And I am a grand disciple or something of that sort of in the lineage of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Because his guru was Purushottamananda. Purushottamananda was a disciple of Brahmananda Maharaj. Brahmananda Rakhal, the great Brahmananda, whose name is taken along with Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. That Brahmananda. That lineage. So he said that. He said, I purposely didn't write I'm a Tamilian. He didn't write that in the letter. He wrote all this and said, requested. He says he got a reply quickly from President of the ashram, Sundaramana was secretary, I presume. And he said, apparently he says, he admonished me. He scolded me saying, well, Ambal has given you a command to stay 12 months. Why are you asking for 6 weeks? You are granted 12 months stay. You come from November, you can stay here for 12 months. Oh my God, he says, what is this? So he came off. He came in November of 1995. Enjoy, he says, ecstasy. He says, sadhana, ecstasy, Bhagavan is there. Imagine the tapasvis. What tapasvis? What tapasvis from? How much? There Bhagavan is acting so many years after his body is not there. What he is doing? He is there, he is here. 1996 was the 100th or 50th year of Advent. 1946 was 100th year, centenary, Advent centenary. So he was there during the centenary year, he was sitting in the ashram. Really coming for going for sadhana, he was there. One fine day, he says, Sundaramana, president of the ashram, made a request to him. He said, we have centenary, this celebration is there. We are going to be bringing out a souvenir. You should write an article. Because they knew he's a scholar, he's a Kshotriya. Scholar, great scholar. You please write an article. He said, what article will I write? Okay. There's not much time also. You know how it is, these editors give you time. So not much time, but article has to be written. That too for centenary souvenir. It will be there in the bookshelves of people for another 100 years. We have to write a decent article. So he didn't know what to do. He was thinking what to do, but Bhagavan's, you have to write. So he says, Bhagavan's Leela, he says. He says, he's sitting thinking what to do, then Natesh and Mama comes to his room. Why are you looking so lost, kind of question he asked him. He said, no, they asked me to write an article and I don't know what to do. But immediately, he said, Natesh Mama had an idea. He said, listen, it's like this. For Lord Venkateshwara and others, there are some Suprabhatams that are there. Why don't you write a Suprabhatam for Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi? He says he was even more shocked. He has not written any Sanskrit composition. He is read. He's a scholar and all that. Of course, he's a great scholar. But not in the sense that, he could write articles or this, in this case, poetry. On as a Suprabhatam. Oh, imagine, it will be directly compared only to Venkateshwara Perumal Suprabhatam. Nothing else it will be compared. And M.S. Subbalakshmi's voice will come to mind or whatever. That Suprabhatam will come to mind. You have to write a Suprabhatam. Here is a man who is used to getting into dark rooms for 6 months, etc. The torchlight is, the headlight is put on his eyes and say, now you deliver. And he's doing all his the ecstasy of sadhana, he's reading all, only now he's saying 1996, 95, he's actually reading all the teachings of Bhagavan, the books, all that as a part of his thing. Now this request comes, but he doesn't know how to do it. So he said, Rateshan Mama, that I don't know much about Bhagavan himself. I mean, I'm doing this sadhana, but I haven't understood it from that perspective. He said, no, don't worry, I'll tell you. So he said, I sat down and he told him Bhagavan's life from beginning till his Mahasamadhi. Whatever he could. Sell in point, timeline. Rateshan Mama told him, evening. Must be early evening, our Arunachala evening, our evening is different because Arunachala dinner is 7:15, 7:30, evening, night. So before dinner or whatever it was told, Swamiji had dinner. Then he went to his room, Director Bhagavan, sat down with his pen and he wrote. He started writing. He has told me also that he did not know what he was writing. He didn't write it, he says. It was written. It started getting written. And in 1.5 hours, some 19 or 18, 19 verses have been written. Stopped. He couldn't believe it. Then next day, again after dinner, he sat down and completed the rest. Another some 10 verses or 8 verses, 9 verses. Completed some 26, 27 verses of the basic Ramana Suprabhat. I tell you, today's talk is about Ramana Suprabhat. All this long story is so that you get interested in something. It is in every way comparable to Lord Venkatesh remarks Prabhata. It is incredible. The melody, the words, the expressions, the language, the flow, the sequence, everything in that. It is not a human being writing it. It is absolutely a divine expression. You cannot but marvel at it. When you see it, when you read it, when you hear it, when you contemplate it, you wonder, what is this marvel that got written? He says, Bhagavan, we have heard that Bhagavan Grace Muni wrote something, Bhagavan's Grace somebody wrote something, Muruganar wrote something, some verses were purely by Bhagavan's grace. Here it is only he. So many years after he has dropped his body, and everything he has arranged so that this happens. Right from calling, from Amba talking in that dark room, calling this person over, having a Sundaravana write like this, making this request, Nateshan Mama coming in, this, that, thing has to come out. Story is not complete. So rather than we can write, it is written, then it has to be chanted also, no? So he himself writes in this book on Suprabhatam, you see, he's written that by the grace of Bhagavan, Sundaramana he had requested Ambika to chant it. I didn't even know all this was happening at the time. So she used to do whatever she wanted. She did. She chanted it. So that was a centenary offering. Ramashram brought out that Suprabhatam. It's a CD. Many of you must have heard it. From the Suprabhatam. It has also got Prapatti Ashtakam in it, I think. Jagadishwara Shastri's Ashtakam also is there in the CD. And the Suprabhatam is a masterpiece. Just like Padapancharatham is a masterpiece. Divine. So is this Suprabhatam. Now to talk of Suprabhatam now in the evening or during the full moon time may on the face of it seem slightly time mismatch. It's probably Suprabhatam in America now. But what does one say except that every time you think of Bhagavan, it's Suprabhatam. This was what I was wanting to. This was in my mind. So when Dr. Sharda requested that why don't you speak, I thought, okay, I'll speak what is in my mind. So this has been something that I've been thinking of, this piece called Ramana Suprabhatam, and marveling over that composition from Shantanandapuri. It's 7:08, we have 7 minutes. We will start a bit. Today this is not something which will be complete. This is just a river flowing, and we will take a few handfuls of water. So we will look at a few verses so we get the beauty of it, and then who knows, maybe you will take it up yourself. All right. Actually, you may try and see if you can listen to this Suprabhatam as a part of your morning sadhana. It is meant for that. There are many of you who are Brahma Muhurtam risers. This is a short addition that you can consider. We will see a few verses today, and then move on from there. So the first verse. Srimat Sundara Sundaryo Suputra Ramana Prabho Uttishta Rishishardula Kartavyam Loka Mangalam. Srimat Sundara Sundaryo Suputra Ramana Prabhu, the good son of Sundaramaiyer and Argamar. Uttishta Rishishardula, oh get up, oh tiger among rishis. Awaken. Kartavyam Lokamangalam, because auspiciousness has to be bestowed on the world. Please rise. उत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भगवन्नावर्तनगरोद्भव. Once again. उत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भगवन्नावर्तनगरोद्भव. उत्तिष्ठा शेषरमण भक्तानां मङ्गलं कुरु. उत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ, awaken, awaken Bhagavan, born in Avartanagara, that is Tiruchuri. Uttishtha Shesharamana, please awaken, O Ramana, who is the entirety, all is Ramana. Bhaktana Mangalam Kuru, please bestow auspiciousness on your devotees. So this is the starting invocation, then the verses go. रौतीह पक्षिनिवः परितो मयूराः त्वद्रूपसन्निधिवियोगवशादिवैव वामाह्वयन्ति पशवो निजगोष्ठकोणात् आनन्दचिद्रमणभूतव सुप्रभातम्. रौतीह पक्षिनिवः परितो मयूराः त्वद्रूपसन्निधिवियोगवशादिवैव वामाह्वयन्ति पशवो निजगोष्ठकोणात् आनन्दचिद्रमणभूतव सुप्रभातम्. रौतीह पक्षिनिवः परितो मयूराः. The birds are singing. God. Groups of birds are singing. Peacocks are prancing around. As though unable to bear the separation from your form, the Rupa Sannidhi, the Sannidhi of your form, the viraha from that, they are not able to bear. So they have started their clamor. Vamavayanti pashavoni jagoshta konat. And from the Goshala, from their Goshala, I said, Nija Goshta konat. Their Goshala, the cows, pashus, they have started moving for you. Anandatidramanaಭೂತವ ಸುಪ್ರಭಾತಂ. O Ramana, Anandachit is it. Supreme joy is put first. Then consciousness, awareness. Sat is included in the word Ramana itself. Separately it is not said. Anandachit Ramanabho. That was a Prabhat. 7:14. We have 1 minute. We'll do one more verse and then close. श्रूयते निगमपाठरवः समन्तात् विद्यार्थिनां सकलवेदविदां द्विजानां प्रातः प्रदक्षिणपरातव भक्तवर्याः आनन्दचिद्रमणभूतव सुप्रभातम्. श्रूयते निगमपाठरवः समन्तात् विद्यार्थिनां सकलवेदविदां द्विजानां प्रातः प्रदक्षिणपरातव भक्तवर्याः Anandachitramanaभूतव सुप्रभातम्. So Shruyate, one can hear from the Veda Pathashala. The chanting of the Vedas is going on. Today is Vedarambam. It's a good, we'll end with this verse, so it's a good sign from Bhagavan. So from the Nigama Patharava, chanting of the Vedas is being done by Vidyarthinam, the students, their Sakala Veda Vedam Vijana, and the teachers, all the Vedavids, the twice borns, is heard all over, you see. Vedic chanting is heard. And then, Pratha Pradakshina Bharatava Bhakta Varya. And then around your Sannidhi of Bhagavan, early morning, Pradakshina Paratava Bhatava Bhaktavarya. Your Bhaktavarya, your great devotees are all doing pradakshina. Anandachid Ramana Bho. Oh, bliss, consciousness, reality, Ramana. It is your good morning. Tava Suprabhata. On that note, we'll conclude here today. We have done a minute or two extra, minute extra maybe. It's a journey. Har Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva. Thank you.
Namo Ramana. Thank you. We can continue the journey into Suprabhatam with G. Kameshwar as and when Bhagavan permits us to do so. And we look forward to that by Bhagavan's grace. And we also hope to upload the audio of the Suprabhatam on our YouTube channel soon. It is available, of course, but we shall also upload it. This may be the ripe time for it. This year is the 125th year of Bhagavan's Advent. It is also a special year. So G. Kameshwar has been talking to us about the 100th year and how Bhagavan arranged for his Suprabhatam to be composed in that 100th year. And he's renewed our memory of it in a more special manner here now in the 125th year. And we are not only in the Chaturmasyam is significant for all of us, very especially for the Ramana devotees, because this is the Chaturmasyam in which Bhagavan had his enlightenment, and this is just the period when he is almost about to leave for Arunachala. A few days from now, he will leave on the Shashti, on the Saptami, he will leave for Arunachala. So we are just entering that phase of the Advent. It is a very, very sacred time for all of us and very beautifully emphasized by G. Kameshwar. Generally a sacred time for the world and a very sacred time for Ramana devotees. It is that time when Bhagavan, as I said, had his enlightenment and he was to come to Arunachala to establish all of us, as Vishwanatha Swami says, Jagat Hitavatārāya Namaha. So to establish all of us in that state and to give us that revealing, that self-revealing path of self-enquiry. And Nandakumarji often reminds us that one of the beautiful ways to invoke Bhagavan, to awaken his presence in his heart, now that the preamble of the Suprabhatam has been done, then how do we really awaken that presence fully and establish it is through the self-enquiry. We have Nandakumarji conducting a session of self-enquiry for us now.
Namo Ramana. Am I audible? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana Namo Ramana. Before we commence the practice of Atma-Ucharam for 10 minutes, we read from Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, talk number 427. I am reading the second part of the talk. The devotee asks, when I travel from Calcutta to Madras, I must know Madras so that I may not alight at an intermediate station out of ignorance. There are signboards and the timetable to guide me in my travel. But what is the guide in my search for the self? Bhagavan, it is all right for the journey. You know how far away you are from Madras. Can you tell me how far away you are from the self in order that you should seek it? Devotee, I do not know. Bhagavan, are you divorced from the self? Is it possible to be divorced? Are not all these alien to you and the self the most intimate? Where should you go to gain the self? Devotee, I am now away from the self. I must retrace my steps in order to gain it, in order to regain it. Bhagavan, how far away? Who says that he is apart? Can there be two selves? Devotee, it is said that individuals are modifications of the self, just as ornaments of gold. Bhagavan, when a man speaks in terms of ornaments, ignoring their substance gold, he is told that they are gold. But here, the man is consciousness and speaks of himself as its modification. Do you remain apart from the self, that you speak of yourself and as its modification? So Bhagavan is pointing out the difficulty in giving examples for the nature of the self. Usually it is said that even when the ornaments are seen, you should be able to see the gold. But Bhagavan is, the gentleman is referring, are we not ornaments, and should we not do this act of identifying with the self? And Bhagavan is pointing out to him how it is done in consciousness. In ornaments, there seems to be a difference between the forms and the source. But here we are speaking of consciousness. Therefore, can the very act of questioning the separateness is the identifying with the gold. Devotee, cannot gold be imagined to say that it has become an ornament? So the devotee wants an explanation for the forms, that how are these forms there? Can we say that the Brahman is saying, I have only become all these forms? Only Shiva is saying, I am only now permeating and manifesting as all these forms. He needs some such statement. And Bhagavan, let us see what Bhagavan says. Bhagavan, being insentient, it does not say so. The gold, but the individual is sentient. Gold cannot say so. Being insentient, the gold cannot say so. But the individual is sentient and cannot function apart from consciousness. The self is pure consciousness. Yet the man identifies himself with the body, which is itself insentient, and does not say, I am the body, of its own accord. Someone else says so. So Bhagavan brings to us the importance of knowing this key characteristic of sentience, because there is this example that one should remain apart from the sugar to taste it, indicating that the duality is required to taste the bliss of Brahman. But Bhagavan would point out that Brahman is not insentient like sugarcane, that it is full of sentience. So it does not need anything apart from it for it to be sensed. That is what is Bhagavan bringing in here. Someone else, the unlimited self, does not say. Who else is he that says so, that I am the body? A spurious I arises between the pure consciousness and insentient body and imagines itself limited to the body. Seek this and it will vanish as a phantom. So the consciousness now is rising from its source and identifying with the body and saying, I am the body. The body by itself does not say, I am the body. Something else arises in between the self and the insentient body and is now claiming, I am the body. The phantom is the ego. Seek this and it will vanish as a phantom. That phantom is the ego or the mind or the individuality. All the Shastras are based on the rise of this phantom, whose elimination is their purpose. So, the taking of this phantom to its source is the essence of all the Shastras, is what Bhagavan is saying. The Shastras may prescribe many sadhanas, but ultimately it has to culminate in this toll being paid, the ego being offered to the source. All the Shastras are based on the rise of this phantom, whose elimination is their purpose. So, what Bhagavan is giving as self-enquiry is the whole purpose of all the Shastras, says Bhagavan in this talk. The present state is mere illusion. Disillusionment is the goal and nothing more. Devotee, the mind is said to be a bundle of thoughts. Bhagavan, because it functions on account of a single root, the I thought. Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga arjavat. Bhagavan quotes from Upadesha Saram. It has no real existence as a separate entity. If the mind's truth is inquired into, swam chinvata, if the mind itself inquires into who am I, what is my truth, the mind vanishes as non-existence or that it does not have an existence apart from the self. Devotee, are not thought projections from the mind? In that case, Bhagavan says, in that case, mind is taken to be synonymous with the I thought or ego. For manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga arjava vrittayastvaham vrittimashrita vrittayo mano vidyaham manaha. The mind can be considered as nothing but a collection of thoughts, all having the ashraya or the dependence on the I thought. Therefore, the mind itself is nothing but the I thought, says Bhagavan. So the entire mind out of which the senses are, on which the senses are dependent, this entire mind is now reduced to one thought, the I thought. And Bhagavan wants us to put the attention again and again on that granthi, on that I am the body thought. And along with its elimination, the mind's non-existence is realized and the Swaswarupa rises and shines as I. This is the sadhana Bhagavan has given us on this Pournami day. Let us sit in practice of Atma Vicharam on putting attention again and again on the Mula Granthi or the Hridaya Granthi, the I thought, by letting go of any thought that arises, not pursuing it, and inquiring, for whom is this thought? The answer will be, this thought is for me. This thought has arisen for me. Then the light of attention, instead of chasing thought, is now put on the I thought with the Brahmastram, who am I? Nan yara. Nanu yaru. Again and again, this light of awareness, this light of consciousness is to be put on the Hridaya Granthi till that Granthi is cut asunder. Along with it, all the bondage, all the illusions vanish and one is able to rest in the source, the Spurana, the self, effortlessly. Till such effortless abidance is realized to be our very nature, one should make this effort, this tapas, this Atma Vicharam, which Bhagavan has blessed us with. Let us sit in practice of Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. Revathi ma, you will set the time for us. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We now have Ramananjali songs offered by Srimati V. Radha.
Akka, there is no current, so I will use only the audio.
Yes, ma'am.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we have selected a couple of songs written by Sri Sadhuam Swami. For the first song, the music is by Srimati Sulochana Natarajan, and the second one is by Sri L. Krishnan. Ramanaya, 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 Ramanaya. Kannu moosina neerupamune, Kannu moosina neerupamune, Kanchada Swami Ramanaya, Kanchada Swami Ramanaya, 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 Ramanaya. Jnana Bhaskara Somashekara, Jnana Bhaskara Somashekara, Velugunichu Venkataramana, Velugunichu Venkataramana, Jnana Bhaskara Somashekara, Velugunichu Venkataramana, Ramanaya, 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 Ramanaya. Nannu Brobagara, Nannu Brobagara, Vegamerara Ramanaya, Vegamerara Ramanaya, Nannu Brobagara, Vegamerara Ramanaya, 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 Ramanaya. Lokamahaguru, Lokamahaguru, Lokeshwarane Ramanesha. Lokamahaguru, Lokamahaguru, Lokeshwarane Ramanesha. Monamani Chudaramanam Kamal, Monamani Chudaramanam Kamal, Jnanapan Malare Ramanesha, Jnanapan Malare Ramanesha. Lokamahaguru, Lokamahaguru, Lokeshwarane Ramanesha. Minnoli pinnidum ponnoli meniyai, Minnoli pinnidum ponnoli meniyai, Ennarunguruve Ramanesha, Ennarunguruve Ramanesha. Lokamahaguru, Lokamahaguru,
Lokeshwarane Ramanesha.
Shirame Kupiya Karamodu Toluven, Shirame Kupiya Karamodu Toluven, Tiruvarunidhiye Ramanesha, Tiruvarunidhiye Ramanesha. Lokamahaguru, Lokamahaguru, Lokeshwarane Ramanesha. Tuvi tuvi poomalar paamalar, tuvi tuvi poomalar paamalar, tudikka arulpuri Ramanesha, tudikka arulpuri Ramanesha. Lokamahaguru, Lokamahaguru, Lokeshwarane Ramanesha. ஈனமொழிந்திட இன்பம் விளைந்திட, ஈனமொழிந்திட இன்பம் விளைந்திட, இணையடி அருள்வாய் ரமணேஷா, இணையடி அருள்வாய் ரமணேஷா. லோகமஹாகுரு, லோகமஹாகுரு, லோகேஸ்வரனே ரமணேஷா. பௌர்ணமி நிலவிலும் சிறு குறை உண்டெனை, பௌர்ணமி நிலவிலும் சிறு குறை உண்டெனை, பூரண ஒளி செய் ரமணேஷா, என்னை பூரண ஒளி செய் ரமணேஷா லோகமஹாகுரு லோகேஸ்வரனே ரமணேஷா ஞான பொன்மலரே ரமணேஷா ஞான பொன்மலரே ரமணேஷா என்னருங்குருவே ரமணேஷா என்னருங்குருவே ரமணேஷா திருவருணிதியே ரமணேஷா திருவருணிதியே ரமணேஷா லோகமஹாகுரு லோகேஸ்வரனே ரமணேஷா துதிக்க அருள்புரி ரமணேஷா துதிக்க அருள்புரி ரமணேஷா இணையடி அருள்வாய் ரமணேஷா இணையடி அருள்வாய் ரமணேஷா என்னை பூரண ஒளி செய் ரமணேஷா என்னை பூரண ஒளி செய் ரமணேஷா லோகமஹாகுரு லோகேஸ்வரனே ரமணேஷா லோகமஹாகுரு லோகேஸ்வரனே ரமணேஷா ஞான பொன்மலரே ரமணேஷா. நமோ ரமண.
To the Jnana Ponmalar, the golden flower of Jnana, as Sadhu Om Swami is addressing Bhagavan here, to that flower we offer the 108 namas as flowers in the Ashtottara Puja, and with each nama we seek to offer our attention to the Ramana Atma Swarupa. We now have the Ashtottara Puja to Bhagavan performed at the Ramana Maharshi shrine here at Bangalore, performed by Dileep Simha, and the Ashtottara will be chanted, the first portion by Srimati Uma Ashwath and Lakshmi ji, and the remaining portions by Kumari Revathi Sankar.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Bharadvaja Vishwanatha Virachitam Sri Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavalihi Aparatsat Sukhavari Rashre Yasyo Vimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gaviram Chinta Vihinam Rudhi Chintayami. Om Mahasena Mohonchena Jataya Namaha. Om Sri Ramanaya Namaha. Om Gurave Namaha. Om Akanda Samvidakaraya Namaha. Om Mahojase Namaha. Om Karanodbhavaya Namaha. Om Jagadittavatārāya Namaha. Om Sri Bhuminatasthalostitaya Namaha. Om Parashara Kulottamsaya Namaha. Om Sundararya Tapahpalaya Namaha. Om Kamaniya Sucharitraya Namaha. Om Sahayamba Sahayavate Namaha. Om Shonachala Maholina Manasaya Namaha. Om Swarnahastakaya Namaha. Om Srimadvadashanta Mahastale Labda Vidyodayaya Namaha. Om Mahashakti Lipatena Prabuddhaya Namaha. Om Paramartha Vide Namaha. Om Tivraya Namaha. Om Pitrupadanveshine Namaha. Om Indu Maulina Pitrumate Namaha. Om Pituradeshata Shrona Shailam Praptaya Namaha. Om Tapomayaya Namaha. Om Udasinaya Namaha. Om Mahayogine Namaha. Om Mahotsahaya Namaha. Om Kushagradiye Namaha. Om Shanta Sankalpa Samrambhaya Namaha. Om Susandrishe Namaha. Om Savitre Namaha. ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपित सर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ पुल्लाम्बुज विलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकाचितहास श्रीमण्डितानन मण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूलिताखिल विभ्रमाय नमः
ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः ॐ सौम्याय नमः ॐ आत्मवते नमः ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः ॐ महाभागाय नमः ॐ मातृमुक्तिविदायकाय नमः ॐ विनताय नमः ॐ विनुताय नमः ॐ विप्राय नमः ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः ॐ दर्शनादघसंहारिणे नमः ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ. बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय
Jai. We now go to the final part of the Pournami celebration, this very special Pournami, and I consider it a great blessing that today for the chanting we have with us Srimati Sushila Ramanan, and along with her we have Dr. Aruna Ramkumar also. They will be commencing the first 24 verses, the first two sections of the Aksharamanamalai. This will be followed by Revathi Sankar, and after Revathi Sankar we will be having Dr. Kalarani and Rengasamy from Madurai, followed by Nandakumarji and Usha Nandakumar from Palakottu, our South Bangalore Center, and this will be followed by chanting of the verses by Srimati Pratibha Sundaresh from the USA, our old Ramana Balakendra student and coordinator in the USA, Then we have Ashwini Balaji and Uma Shripati and another two ex-students of Ramana Balakendra, Savitri Krishnan and Jai Shri Ram Krishnan. And the last 12 verses, the concluding verses, will be sung by Srimati Radha along with Vallabh. And then we will have the Onake Namaskaram offered to Bhagavan. The Aksharamanamalai commencing with verses chanted by Srimati Sushila Ramanan and Dr. Aruna Ramkumar.
Aksharamanamalai Shatra Karuna Karaganapadiye Karamarule Kapaye Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Arunachala Mena Agame Nilai Pavaragatai Verarupai Arunachala அழகு சுந்தரம் போல் அகமோனியோம் தவினமாயிருப்போம் அருணாச்சலம் அகம்போம் தீர்த்தும் அககுகை சீரையாய் அமர்வித்ததென்கொள் அருணாச்சலம் ஆறு காயனை ஆண்டனையாகட்டிடில் அகிலம் பழித்திடும் அருணாச்சலம் இப்பழித புனையே நினைவி தாயினியார் விடுவார் அருணாச்சலம் ஏந்திடும் மன்னையில் பெரிதருள் புரிவோம் எதுவோ உனதருள் அருணாச்சலம் உனையே மாற்றி ஓடாதுளத்தின் மேல் ஒருதியாய் இருப்பாய் அருணாச்சலம் ஓஷோற்றோளம் வேடாதுனை கண்படங்கிட பொன்னழகை காடருணாச்சலம் என்னை அழித்தே போதனை கல்லபாவிட ஏதோ ஆண்மை அருணாச்சலம் ஏன் இந்த உறக்கம் என்னை வீரர் இழுக்க ஏதோ உனக்கழகோ அருணாச்சலம் ஐமூல கள்வர் அகத்தினில் போகும் போதகத்தினில் இளையோ அருணாச்சலம் ஒருவர் நாம் Arunachala Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Omkara Porulo Puyarvillo Ivunayara Rivar Arunachala Vaibhav Enakun Arule Tantene Aruvadun Kadan Arunachala கண்ணுக்கு கண்ணாய் கண்ணின்றி காணுனை காணுவதேவர்ணாச்சலா காந்தமிரம்ப போல் கவர்ந்தனை விடாமல் கலந்தனோடிருப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா கிரி ஒருபாகிய கிருபை கடலே கிருபை ஓந்தருளுவாய் அருணாச்சலா கேள்வேலெங்கும் கிளரொளி மணியன் கேள்மையை பாஷை அருணாச்சலா குற்றமுற்றருத்தனை குணமாய் படித்தாள் குருவாயொளி அருணாச்சலா போர்வாள் கண்ணீர் கொடுமையில் படாதருள் கூடனை சேர்ந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா கெஞ்சியும் வஞ்சியாய் கொஞ்சமும் இறங்கிலை அஞ்சலன்றே அருள் அருணாச்சலா கேளாதளிக்கும் முன் கேடில் புகழை கேடு செய்யாதருள் அருணாச்சலா கையினில் கனி உன் மேரசம் கொண்டு வகை வெறி கொள்ளருள் அருணாச்சலா கொடியீட்டடியரை கொல்லுனை கட்டி கொண்டெங்கன் வாழ்வேல் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா
கோபமில் குணத்தோய் குறியாயனை கொள குறையன் செய்தேன் அருணாச்சலா கௌதமர் போற்றும் கருணை மாமலையே கடைக்கணித்தாழ்வாய் அருணாச்சலா சகலமும் விழுங்கும் கதிரொளியின மன ஜலஜமலர் தீடருணாச்சலா சாப்பாடுன்னை சார்ந்துணவாயான் சாந்தமாய் போவன் அருணாச்சலா சித்தம் குளிர கதிரஸ்தம் வைத்த முதவாயை திற அருண்மதி அருணாச்சலா சீரை அழித்து நிர்வாணமாய் செய்தருள் சீரை அழித்தருள் அருணாச்சலா சுகக்கடல் பொங்க சொல்லுணர்வடங்க சும்மா பொருந்திடங்கருணாச்சலா சூது செய்தென்னை சோதியாதினியுன் ஜோதியுரு காட்டருணாச்சலா செப்படி வித்த வித்தை கற்றிப்படி மயக்கு விட்டுருபடு வித்தை காட்டருணாச்சலா சேராயனின்மை நீராயுருகி கண்ணீராற்றழிவேன் அருணாச்சலா செய்யன தள்ளிர் செய்வினை சுடுமலால் உய்வகையே துரை அருணாச்சலா சொல்லாது சொலினி சொல்லரனில் என்று சும்மாயிருந்தாய் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா.
சோம்பியாய் சும்மா சுகமுண்டுறங்கி சொல்வேனங்கதி அருணாச்சலா சௌரியம் காட்டினை சகக்கற்றனென்றே தனியாதிருந்த அருணாச்சலா ஞமனியில் கேளாய் நானென்றும் நானியன்றை அருணாச்சலா ஞானமில்லாதும் ஆசையகல ஞானம் தெரிந்தருளருணாச்சலா நீரும் மலர்நிலை என்றே மேலென்றனையன் அருணாச்சலா துவந்தெரியாத தனையுற்ற தத்துவமிருவென்னருணாச்சலா தானே தானே தத்துவமிதனை தானே காட்டுவயருணாச்சலா திரும்பியவங்களை கிளமனக்கண் தெரியுமென்றனையன் அருணாச்சலா தீரமில்லறக்கின் தேடியும் தனையன் திருவவுற்றேன் அருணாச்சலா துப்பறிவில்ல இப்பிறப்பென்பை ஒப்பிடவாயே அருணாச்சலா தூய்மனமொழிய தூயம் தூயவே அருளன் அருணாச்சலா தெய்வமன்றுன்னை சாலவே என்னை சேர ஒளித்தாய் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா
தேடாதுற்றனல் திரு அருளிதியகத்தியகம் தீர்த்தருள் அருணாச்சலா தைரியமோடு முன்னியகனாடைய தட்டழிந்தேல் அருள் அருணாச்சலா தொட்டருள் கைமே கட்டிடாய நிலிய நஷ்டமாவே அருள் அருணாச்சலா தோடமில் நீயகத்தோடொன்றி என்று சந்தோடமொன்றில் அருள் அருணாச்சலா நகையிடமில்லை நின் நாடிய எனையரு நகையிட்டு பார்மீ அருணாச்சலா நாடிலை நாடிட நாயொன்று நிஸ்தாழுவானின்றனை அருணாச்சலா நின்னெறி எரித்தனை நீராக்கிடும் முன் நின்னருள் மழை பொழி அருணாச்சலா நீனானர புலி நிதங்களி மயமா நின்றிடு நிலை அருள் அருணாச்சலா நுண்ணொரு உனையால் விண்ணொரு நன்னிட எண்ணலையிலும் அருணாச்சலா நூலறிவறியா பேதையனென்றன் மாலறிவரு தருள் அருணாச்சலா
நெக்கு நெக்குருகியான் புக்கிட உனை புக நக்கல நின்றனை அருணாச்சலா. நேசமில் எனக்கு உன் ஆசையை காட்டி நீ மோசம் செய்யாதருள் அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல.
நைந்தளி கனியா நலநிலை பதத்தில் நாடியுட்கொள் நலம் அருணாச்சலா. நொந்திடாதுந்தனை தந்தனை கொண்டிலை அந்தக நீ என கருணாச்சலா. நோக்கிய கருதிமை தாக்கிய பக்குவம் ஆக்கினி ஆண்டருள் அருணாச்சலா. பற்றிமால் விடம் தலையுற்றிடும் உனமருள் பற்றிடாருள் புரி அருணாச்சலா. பார்த்தருண் மாலர பார்த்திலையனினருள் பாருணக்கார் சொல்வர் அருணாச்சலா. பேத்து விட்டுன்னை நேர்பித்தனாக்கினை அருள் பித்தம் தெளி மருந்தருணாச்சலா. பீதியில் உன்னை சார் பீதியில் என்னை சேர் பீதி உந்தனக்கேன் அருணாச்சலா. புல்லறிவேதுரை நல்லறிவேதுரை புல்லிடவே அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பூமண மாமனம் பூரண மணம் கொள பூரண மணம் அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பெயர் நினைத்திடவே பிடித்திடுத்தனை உன் பெருமையார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா. பேய்த்தனம் விட விடா பேயா பிடித்தனை பேயனாக்கின என் அருணாச்சலா. பைங்கொடியானான் பற்றின்றி வாடாமல் பற்று கொடாய் கருணாச்சலம். அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா.
கொடியால் மயக்கி என் போதத்தை பறித்து உன் போதத்தை காட்டினை அருணாச்சலா. போக்கும் வரவுமில் பொது வெளியினில் அருள் போராட்டம் காட்டருணாச்சலா. பௌதிக மாமுடல் பற்று அற்று நாளு முன் பவிசு கண்டூர அருள் அருணாச்சலா. மலை மருந்திட நீ மலை திடவோ அருள் மலை மருந்தாயோளிர் அருணாச்சலா. மானம் கொண்டுருபவர் மானத்தை அளித்த அபிமானமில்லாதோளிர் அருணாச்சலா. மிஞ்சிடிற் கெஞ்சிடும் கொஞ்சவரிவனியான் வஞ்சியாதருளனை அருணாச்சலா. மீகாமனில்லாமல் மாகாற்றலை களம் ஆகாமற் காத்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. முடியடி காணா முடிவிடத்தனை நேர் முடிவிடக்கட நிலை அருணாச்சலா. மூக்கிலன் முன் காட்டு முகுர மகாதெனை தூக்கியடைந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. மெய்யாகத்தின் மனமென் மலரணையில் நாம் மெய் கலந்திட அருள் அருணாச்சலா. மேல் மேல் தாண்டிடும் சேர்ந்து மேல்மயுற்றனையன் அருணாச்சலா. மைமய நீ தருண்மை நான் உனது உண்மை வசமாக்கினை அருணாச்சலா. மேல் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala.
மொட்டையடித்தனை வெற்ற வழியில் நீ நட்ட மாளிகையன் அருணாச்சலா மோகன் தவித்துன் மோகமாவை துமின் மோகம் தீராயன் அருணாச்சலா மௌனியாய் கற்போல் மலராதிருந்தால் மௌனமிதாமோ அருணாச்சலா யவனன் வாயின் மண்ணினையட்டி என் பிழை பொழித்த அருணாச்சலா யாரும் அறியாதென் மதியினை மருட்டி எவர் கொலை கொண்டது அருணாச்சலா ரமணன் என்றுரைத்தேன் ரோஷம் கொள்ளாதெனை ரமித்திட செய்யவா அருணாச்சலா ராபகலில்லா வெறுவெளி வீட்டில் ரமித்திடுவோம் அருணாச்சலா லட்சியம் வைத்தருளஸ்திரம் விட்டென்னை பக்ஷிதாய் பிராணனுடருணாச்சலா லாப நீக பர லாபமில் என்னை உற்று லாபமென்னூற்றனை அருணாச்சலா வரும்படி சொல்லிலை வந்தென் படியட வருந்திடும் தலை விதி அருணாச்சலா வாவென்றகம் புக்கும் வாழ்வருளன்றேன் வாழ்விழுந்தேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலா விட்டிடு கஷ்டமாம் விட்டிடாதுனை உய் விட்டிட அருள் புரி அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா
வீடு விட்டி துள வீடு புக்கு பயவுன் வீடு காட்டினை அருள் அருணாச்சலா வேடி விட்டேனுன் செயல் வெறுத்திடாதுன் அருள் வேடி விட்டென்னை கா அருணாச்சலா வேதாந்தத்தே வேரற விளங்கும் வேத பொருள் அருள் அருணாச்சலா வைதலை வாழ்த்தா வைத்தருள் கூடிய வைத்தென்னை விடாதருள் அருணாச்சலா அம்புவில்லாரி போல் அன்புரு உன்னில் என்னை அன்பா கரைத்தருள் அருணாச்சலா அருண என்றென்னையான் அருள் கண்ணிப்பட்டேன் உன் அருள் வலை தப்புமோ அருணாச்சலா சிந்தி தருள்பட சிலந்தி போல் கட்டி சிறையீட்டுண்டனை அருணாச்சலா அன்போடு நாம் கேளன்பர்த்தம் அன்பரு கண்பனாயிட அருள் அருணாச்சலா என் போலும் தீனரை இன்புற காத்து நீ என்னாலும் வாழ்ந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா என்புரு கண்பர்த்தம் இன் சொற்கொள் செவியும் என் பொன்மொழி கொளருள் அருணாச்சலா பொறுமையாம்பூதர புன் சொல்லை நன் சொல்ல பொறுத்தருள் இஷ்டம் பின் அருணாச்சலா மாலை அளித்த அருணாச்சல ரமண என் மாலை அணிந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா மாலை அளித்த அருணாச்சல ரமண என் மாலை அணிந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வா அமரர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி.
உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம் உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம் உண்மை பரம்பொருளே ரமணா. உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம் உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம் உண்மை பரம்பொருளே ரமணா. மனக்கண் விளக்கிடும் மகக்கண்மணியே உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். மனக்கண் விளக்கிடும் மகக்கண்மணியே உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். பார்க்கும் பொழுதெல்லாம் என்னுள் இருந்தவை பார்ப்பதோடென்னையும் பார்ப்பவனே. நான் பார்க்கும் பொழுதெல்லாம் என்னுள் இருந்த பார்ப்பதோடென்னையும் பார்ப்பவனே. ஊக்கம் எனக்கழி துய்க்கும் ரமணா உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். ஊக்கம் எனக்கழி துய்க்கும் ரமணா உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம்.
மாயுமூடல மாயமளித்தென்னை வாழ்வித்து நான் என வாழ்பவனே. மாயுமூடல மாயமளித்தென்னை வாழ்வித்து நான் என வாழ்பவனே. ஓயும் படிக்கென்னை உண்ணும் ரமணா உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். ஓயும் படிக்கென்னை உண்ணும் ரமணா உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். எல்லா பொழுதிலும் எல்லா இடத்திலும் எல்லாமா என்னுள் இருப்பவனே. எல்லா பொழுதிலும் எல்லா இடத்திலும் எல்லாமா என்னுள் இருப்பவனே. உல்லாசமாய் உழுலாவும் ரமணா உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். உல்லாசமாய் உழுலாவும் ரமணா உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம். உனக்கே உனக்கே நமஸ்காரம்.
बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की
जय.
More Ramanan.